Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. So, FM Peter Giannatos, who of course is the founder of the Charlotte Chess Center, reached out to me and offered to share some stories about his friendship with Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky and also share some of what he experienced in the weeks and days leading up to his tragic passing. So I'm deeply grateful for Peter for sharing that story, giving the chess world a little bit more information about what is known about what happened to Daniel, but also just wanted to raise awareness and to raise funds for this incredible initiative the Charlotte Chess Center is launching, where in honor of Grandmaster Naroditsky, they want to seed the Naroditsky Memorial Blitz and Rapid Championship. They envision a full-scale world-class event to take place every year in Charlotte, and also a fellowship in Grandmaster Naroditsky's honor. So I just wanted to encourage you all, if you're able to support this cause in any way, it is quite a worthwhile way to support the legacy of a young Grandmaster who touched so many and who is gone far too soon. So lastly, just wanted to mention, normally I would do this, a podcast like this, I would do it ad-free. I'm not seeking to profit from the passing of one of the chess world's great stars, but being that they're looking to raise funds, I thought it would be more appropriate actually for me to keep the ads on and to donate whatever proceeds, both from YouTube and from Spotify, go towards this fund. I had already made a personal donation, but I will also be making a follow-up donation. You know, I'm not Levy Rosman. It's not going to be millions of dollars or anything, but every little bit helps, which is something for you all to keep in mind as well. Even if it's only, you can only throw $5. If all of Daniel's fans did that, we could have an incredible tournament and support some talented young players for many years to come. But anyway, this is Peter's story to tell. Greatly appreciative that he took the time to do so. So I will let you all get to it.
All right.
Shots fired right off the bat. All right. And we are here with the Charlotte Chess Center founder, one of Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky's many good friends in Charlotte, the person who recruited him to move to Charlotte after he graduated from Stanford University. We wish that he were joining us under more joyful circumstances. It's certainly been a tough time, as it's now been, we're recording this on Friday, November 21st, more than a month after Grandmaster Naroditsky's passing. But we are honored, as always, to be joined by FM Peter Giannatos. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me back. I think this is my third time, so I wish it was under better circumstances, but of course, happy to be here with you and your audience.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being willing to come on and discuss what's obviously been a heartbreaking story for the whole chess world. But I think a lot of us have been to Charlotte and know the community that you guys have down there and how tight-knit you all are. So grieve for you guys in particular. But I do appreciate your willingness to discuss it. And of course, we're also going to be discussing the fundraiser in Daniel's honor, which is an excellent endeavor that I think will bring some positive out of an awful situation. But as we get into it, Peter, so you on your Facebook page shared the eulogy that you gave at Daniel's funeral. Definitely, if anyone hasn't read it, I encourage you to check that out. I'll link to it. But maybe you could just briefly tell the story of how you met Daniel and how your friendship developed over the years.
Yeah, sure. So Daniel and I met at a relatively well-known chess camp in Atlanta called the Emory Castle Chess Camp. So it's at Emory University in Atlanta, and it's an overnight chess camp for junior youth ranging from 1200 to 2100, 2200. And I participated in that as a counselor when I was in college, and I always wanted to be an instructor there. So they finally called me in to be an instructor, and that was the first time I got a chance to meet Daniel. And we were along with some of the other Charlotte crew like Grant Owen and Dominique Myers and others who were also a part of the camp in one way or another. We were the few kind of crazy people, let's say, that would stay up all night and play blitz and ping pong and, and just love just being around one another. and then on fumes, on 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep, we'd wake up, go and teach our classes all day to the kids, and then repeat that in the evening. And that was just one of the ways that, I didn't know Daniel ahead of that. And so, I mean, I knew who he was. I didn't personally know him, but we bonded together as a peer group, recognizing that we all just loved each other's company, and we wanted to play blitz chess, we wanted to play bullet chess, we wanted to play ping pong, we wanted to crack jokes, and we just meshed together so easily. And so we befriended each other at that week-long overnight camp. At the time, he was still a Stanford student, so he wasn't, he was actively taking classes, but this was in the summertime. And of course, I was running the Charlotte Chess Center, but I would always take a week off to go do this camp because I enjoyed that aspect of it so much. Um, so that's how we met, and we had a week of bonding with one another. And that was yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And as you got to know him, he was already one of the top players for his age in the country. Of course, that's how you were familiar with him. We all were. What surprised you about his personality as you got to know him?
Yeah, so with most grandmasters, because chess has this kind of hierarchical system where it's kind of like, you might ask somebody their rating instead of their name, for
Right.
example, right? So it's like, hey, Ben, I don't know you. What's your rating? Okay, can we
Yeah.
talk or not talk? Okay, So he wasn't like that. And that was kind of the first thing I noticed. Because even as a title player, when I meet stronger players for the first time, I tread carefully because I know that there's this kind of, uh, you know, maybe sometimes lack of respect for one another if you're not like on the same playing level. So I wasn't sure in which category Daniel was. Was he the approachable GM, or was he kind of the standoff GM? But immediately recognized how friendly and humble and kind he was. So that made it so much easier to create that bonding experience because he enjoyed the camaraderie. He was very friendly and quite humble, actually. Like he would often give other people compliments on good tactics or moves. So seeing him in action there, I just knew, okay, this is my type of guy, right? Like I like
Hmm.
I can get along with him. And then yeah, so those were the things that struck me first. And then of course his pure passion for chess. Like I remember seeing him playing on his trackpad in the staff lounge at that, at the Castle Chess Camp. Uh just playing bullet on his trackpad, and then he'd stop doing that and then come over and play ping pong or play over the board with us. And he was just full of energy, and I mean, his energy filled the room, quite honestly. And of course, he had a reputation that was larger than life already, even back then.
Yeah, you probably, I know you're friendly with I am John Bartholomew. You probably also saw his tribute. Within the tribute on John's YouTube channel, he posted a quick clip of Daniel playing ping pong. He looked amazing.
Yeah, he was a good ping pong player, and he was equally competitive at ping pong in terms of like his desire to win. And so we had great fun with that. Long, long, sweaty nights on the ping pong table
Hmm.
as a group, playing doubles, singles. Sometimes he just dropped what he was doing and he'd call me out. Right, so like, all right, get your ass over here. We're playing ping pong, right? And he liked ping pong. Um, he loved chess, of course. So he just had this beautiful competitive spirit, but it was all in good fun, right? It was just, so we really had a great time. But yeah, he's reasonable ping pong player as well, and enjoyed it, and didn't play often, just mostly really at Castle Chess Camp. It wasn't something we did that often in Charlotte.
Gotcha. And obviously, so he graduates from Stanford, the type of person who can pretty much do whatever he wants from in a professional capacity. But you convinced him to come to Charlotte.
Yeah, for years I had, I wouldn't say jokingly suggested that he should move to Charlotte, but I said it not really believing that it was possible. But I put it out there. Like he would come to visit in between those Castle Chess Camp, 1 weeks of the summer. He would come visit in between. There was camaraderie built, and he loved the friendships that he made in Charlotte, not just with me, but with the other Charlotte, crew. And I always said, if you when you graduate, if you decide that, academia is not the route that you'd like to go down, then Charlotte would welcome you with open arms as a place that, let's say, respects chess professionals of all levels, not just GMs, but anybody who's trying to make a career in chess. And he could feel that. And so, really, to my surprise, after he graduated, not right after, I believe he had applied to the master's program at Stanford and he got accepted. He just chose not to pursue it. At making a decision at some point, I remember just prior to the term starting, and when he texted me, we used Facebook Messenger mostly, but when he messaged me, uh, I just couldn't believe what I was reading, because keep in mind that we didn't have a GM in Charlotte at that time, right? So we had Grandmaster Ben Feingold had done a couple tours of Charlotte for a quarter or two in previous years, but we never had a committed Grandmaster living in Charlotte at that time. So for me, as a person who was trying to build a community, this was like amazing news. One,
Yeah.
because I was getting this awesome friend that I had already, and was an endear, somebody who I loved already. But I was thinking, oh my God, like Charlotte's going to have its first grandmaster. This is going to help enhance our community so much. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I was thinking to myself back then, right? And yeah, and sure enough, so later that year, he eventually moved to Charlotte, and that was a very difficult choice for him, because not because chess wasn't his passion, but there are a lot of pressures that we face as the way we're raised, and then the kind of pressures that society puts on us, where it's like, what careers should you be pursuing, right? If you pursue chess, which a lot of people think as not a legitimate career if they're from outside of the chess world and they haven't experienced that, there's a lot of pressure to say, well, geez, you're a Stanford graduate, and what you gonna do? You're gonna go become a chess teacher? You're gonna become a content creator? Like, what are you gonna do? And so he at least knew that when he was coming to Charlotte, that there was a level of respect there for chess, and that we didn't share that same view that others may have put in his ear. And quite frankly, Ben, even myself, when I was first starting, almost everybody who I knew and respected was trying to talk me out of doing
Right.
what I was doing. So, and I don't blame them for that. It's just that we all face those pressures when we do something kind of against the grain. So it took really a lot of courage for him to do that. But obviously, it was such an incredible decision for him, and something that would really impact him in a way, and also, of course, our Charlotte chess community, for over 5 years.
Yeah, and obviously it worked out for him very quickly. His YouTube channel blew up. He became one of the best commentators and most respected in the world. Not to speak of obviously his amazing chess prowess and fast chess prowess in particular. But I suppose we should fast forward to events of the recent months. So I don't know where you want to pick things up, Peter. Obviously, the weekend of Daniel's death has been a topic of a lot of discussion as the chess world grieves.
Yeah, so that's the end, if you will, of this story, and we could start with the end, and then we can work our way backward as we see fit. So, um, Friday, when he had the last stream, what people see and know as the last stream that eventually got published, you will hear. Obviously, his behavior was very odd during that stream, which caused concern for his viewers and followers and for our peer group. And when I was notified about that, because I wasn't watching the stream at the time, uh, well, relatively quickly. I mean, this was maybe at midnight or so, in the Eastern time here. Uh, I basically got in the car and drove over to his place. And I texted Alexander Bortnik, who was also who was a great friend of Daniel's as well, and I asked him to meet me over there because it just made sense for us to both go over there, and it so happened to be uh Alexander's birthday on
Right.
Saturday the next day. So it was kind of his pre-birthday night. So I said, Sasha, meet me over there at his home. I'll be there in whatever, 20 minutes. So I go over and uh kind of, ring the doorbell, which you can actually hear on stream, and then he, didn't acknowledge that. So we went in, and I got up to the.
Sasha had a key, right?
Yeah. We had access. We had access to the home.
Okay.
And so I asked Daniel if he'd please stop the stream because it was we wanted to help, and we wouldn't be able to help if he was distracted, playing on stream and trying to engage an audience. And you know his final words to his stream that evening, were around, let's say, oh my gosh, if I'm doing well, for example, and I uh
Yeah, that
and I
was
log off, then people are going to think it's something. So that kind of tells you kind of what was lingering, let's say, in the back of his mind as he was streaming that evening. But anyway, so um what I'd like to clear up here is the kind of series of events first. So Sasha Bortnick and I went over there on Friday, late Friday night, early Saturday morning, however you want to see it. It was after midnight at that point on Friday evening. And once the stream stopped, uh obviously that wasn't the end of it. You know, we I stayed with Danya until about 3 a.m. Sasha probably stayed until 2 or 2:15 a.m., something like that, and then I stayed maybe an additional hour with Danya. And we had a lengthy conversation about a lot of different topics, and I'll share some of those relevant ones with you and the audience. But just to clarify some of the details. So I left the home, let's say 3 a.m. or so that evening after talking to him. And before I left, I asked him, did he set his alarm for the Comet Open Championship that he was playing on chess.com the following day? I knew that he was preparing very much for that event because he was an opportunity to play against world-class players. He was playing Matthias Bluebaum in the first round. Matthias is obviously a candidate this year and an extremely strong player. And I knew how important that event was for him. I believe the event had a $200,000 prize fund as well. So it was also this really amazing event. He was trying to prepare for that. And so I asked him, I said, "You set your alarm? Like, are you ready to play in that?" He said, "Yeah, I've got my alarm set. Like, I'm ready to go." So at sometime around 3 o'clock in the morning, I left and uh, made it a point to wake up in the morning on Saturday to make sure that everything was normal, like playing the Comet event and that everything was good. And indeed, he did play the Comet event. He beat Bluebaum in the first match, lost to Alireza Firouzja, and then lost a second. There was a kind of double elimination structure, and he lost the second. But these things happen, right? Is just a part of competition. You can't expect to just go blow everyone out. And we chitty chatted a little bit, about the match that he played against Alireza, which was a tough match for him. Alireza really, played well, and I left it at that, and that was sometime in the afternoon. And so the one reason I say that is because there's a misconception on the internet, and quite frankly, even in the articles that have been published by prestigious, news stations that we all rely on, where there's kind of this lack of understanding or lack of clarity on a timeline, right? It's not that once the stream ended, that was it. right?
Yeah,
Like his
he didn't die the next morning or
no,
overnight. He died
no,
at
no.
36 hours later or something.
And we certainly didn't abandon him as if there, that we don't have souls and we don't have
Right.
hearts, as if, this man is not our dear friend, both, Sasha and I. And so just want to clarify the timeline of events. And, um, and so, uh, it was only until Sunday, so a couple days later, where some concerned friends, I won't specify who they were. Some concerned friends had not heard from Daniel where they felt like they would normally have heard from him. And I was on the way to to our North Chess Center, which is actually on the other side of town, and that's what I do on Sundays. And I usually go to my parents for dinner on Sundays, kind of like a family dinner, and it's also up in that part of town. And I told the concerned friends, uh, he often sleeps late into the day, and it was kind of like a normal pattern for him because he'd stay up late playing Blitz Bullet, and then he'd finally get his rest, and he might sleep until the afternoon hours, and that wasn't abnormal. And quite frankly, sometimes lack of communication wasn't abnormal for him. Sometimes you'd send him a message and it would take him 2 days to get back to you. That was normal. It wasn't a sign of anything, right? But I said, okay, um, keep me posted. And when I finish up here at North, if still you don't hear, then I'll go check on him, right?
Right.
Because then there's also simply a balance of one's personal space as well, right? So it's kind of like you care about people, but you cannot infringe upon their personal life repeatedly, right? You have to
Yeah.
also give people their due space and their privacy, right? So it's kind of like we're concerned, but we also don't want to overreact, and we also don't want to invade privacy. Somebody could, let's say, be
Yeah.
embarrassed of behavior, and maybe they just need some time or whatever it might be. Okay. So anyway, after my shift at the North Center, it was, kind like I would normally go to my parents' house. But because the concerned peer group had not heard back from him, nor had I heard back from him, of course, then I drove down there, which was about a 35 minute drive. So called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm not coming for dinner tonight. I'm gonna go check on Daniel. Of course, I texted Sasha Bortnick, who lived nearby, to meet me over there again then. And that was, I guess, I must have left the North Chess Center after 6 o'clock, and to get over to his home. And so um I met, Sasha was there, we met, and uh the first thing I thought of was, uh to not infringe upon his space completely, let me go around the side of the home and let me just peek inside. If he's doing whatever, you know, I just want to make sure that he's functioning and he's healthy and he's there. I do not seek to invade his space any more than I already did on that Friday, even though it was for the good of his being. Um, so when I went around the side of the home with Sasha, we kind of looked through the window, and we saw Daniel on the couch, tucked away, as if he was sleeping. So the natural thing for us to do was to ring the doorbell. So I asked Sasha, "Can you go ring the doorbell?" And I stayed by the window. And I couldn't hear the doorbell, so I didn't know if Sasha was ringing it or if the doorbell was broken. Right. So I said, "Sasha, did you ring the doorbell?" And he's like, "Yeah, I rang it multiple times." I said, "Okay." So, of course, Danya was not reacting to the doorbell. So then I decided to beat on the door really, really, really loudly. And then I asked Sasha, do you see any movement? He said no. So then I went inside at that point, and discovered basically Danya lifeless there. I asked Sasha to call 911. He did. He handed me the phone. I was on the phone with the operator during that time. They were telling me what to do, such as you know, uh, remove him from the couch, place him on the floor for CPR, and so on. But I'm very fortunate in that Charlotte-Mecklenburg police and medic had come within 90 seconds
Wow.
of the call. Because as you might imagine, I'm not prepared for this, right? Like, this is
Yeah.
not something that is part of my routine. It wasn't something I expected. Quite frankly, when I was driving over there, that the devil in the back of your mind always says, you know, what's the worst possible situation here, but you don't believe that you're about to walk into the worst situation that
Yeah.
you may have thought about. So you're not fully prepared for it, even if you think of it as a possibility. And so, I don't really want to get into the specifics of what I saw, right? But I would like to say for the audience, at least at this moment, where an official cause of death and official autopsy report is not out and toxicology report is not out, that if it's of any comfort to the audience, my informed opinion here, but it still remains an opinion until something official comes out, is that the cause of death was not suicide. I'll just plainly say that. And um, I do believe whatever happened was either natural or accidental, but not um, self-inflicted death, if you will. So I don't know if that would serve as any comfort to people. Um, and I don't want to get into the details of, let's say, the environment, right? Other than what I've already said. And I am sure that the official report of um, the official report of his death will come out where experts will be able to provide the exact cause of
Right.
death, and then people can take what they want from that. But again, to comfort the chess community and provide some insight, I would be shocked if the official report ended up coming out as a suicide, because of just having countless conversations with Danya, not just near his death, but also for years prior, and also, quite frankly, having surveyed the environment around him and throughout the home. So, that's all I
Yeah.
can say about
Yeah,
that.
that will definitely be comforting as a to me and to Daniel's many other fans. A couple questions for context, if you don't mind, Peter.
Sure.
I know you attended Daniel's funeral
Yes.
in the Bay Area. His brother Alan is on the board of the endowment and the scholarship that we'll eventually be discussing. You mentioned in your tribute to him that you were friendly with his mother and would have dinner with her. Do you mind saying if Daniel's close family, do they share your opinion about, it not being a suicide?
Well, um, they do share my opinion about that, but quite frankly, one of the questions that Alan, his brother, asked me whenever I called Alan the night of his death, because I needed to notify the family, of course. So I called Alan, was he asked me what my opinion was
Mhm.
about it. So I gave it to him, because obviously, without being physically present,
Right.
you wouldn't know exactly what to think. But I think that we are aligned in that there would have been no reason to believe that he would have taken his own life.
Okay.
Yeah,
And obviously a lot of people saw his last stream. He was not himself.
right.
Was that had you seen that before? And how worried were you about his mental state, like, prior to that evening?
Well, I was very worried, Ben, because that's why I went over there. For
Right.
me, that wasn't, um, you know, that that was just as frightening to me as it was jarring to those people who were seeing it for themselves. And I'd like to say that I'm very grateful of those individuals who reached out to me, and to reached out to our family, I call chess family, right? The Charlotte chess peer group, where we can all get in touch with each other and provide assistance. And those players, and I don't want to understate the players. I know that Benjamin Bach and Hans Niemann and Robbie Kevlishvili and certain others were purposefully challenging him to games to just kind of, you know, engage him for the time that it would take us to get over to be physically with him. So I really appreciate that, and others who communicated with me and were involved in some way in trying to assist, because it does speak to the positivity that people do actually care about that. Because obviously, to some people, it would have been entertainment for them to see somebody in that state. But for somebody who cares, about somebody's health and somebody's well-being, it's extremely frightening to see somebody in that state. And so indeed it was, no, I had not seen him like that before. And that's why, I'm basically in my underwear going to somebody's
Right.
house in the middle of the night, right? Um so yes, I'm very grateful to those people, and it's such a just I don't know how else to put it. It's just such a weird situation, right? Something that you can't really be prepared for. But I think that there were some great members of the chess community at large who were mm, aware enough to know that some help was needed, and did the right thing in reaching out to those who could help. So very appreciative of those people.
And Peter, on Daniel's last stream, it was clear that he'd become very concerned about his perception. I think to a lot of his fans, it was a little surprising because even though there have been these cheating allegations for years, the vast majority of chess fans, give them no credence. I mean, he's proved himself in every facet imaginable, including most recently at the World Rapid and Blitz. But clearly, as you alluded to earlier, he had the comment about, if every time I have a bad performance, people will assume the worst. So how did the allegations weigh on him?
Well, there's no doubt about it, Ben, that once the allegations started, the questions, if you will, the questioning, quite frankly, of his integrity, and the robbing of his integrity, uh, that was as close to a physical stab in the back, or in the front, however you'd like to see that, as you could possibly get to him. Because as a person who devoted his whole life to the game of chess, from a young age, you can see some even videos of him at like 10, 11 years old, talking about how he wants to become a grandmaster, and how prestigious it is to become a grandmaster. Somebody who has devoted their life to the game of chess, to then have esteemed individuals within chess, those who you respect and those who you admire and look up to, question your integrity when you've not done anything for that to be questioned, is extremely painful. And for him, some people can easily brush it off. Like, Nakamura, for example, has openly said that his personality type allows him to essentially brush this stuff off, and and he can get past that. But not everybody is the same in that regard. And so allegations and questions of his integrity absolutely weighed him down emotionally. There is no doubt about that. We all saw it. It wasn't just me. The chess community saw it. The close peer group saw it even more. The friend group saw that even more, and we regularly talked about that. And in fact, the night that we had a conversation after the stream ended, the last stream ended. Um, One of the things I told Danya during that night was I said, Danya, I said, you realize, because just to be clear here, Ben, I don't want to go off on a tangent. So the elephant in the room is Kramnik,
Hmm.
but the impact goes beyond, like it trickled down into other players in the 2700 club who will, for the moment, go unnamed.
Hmm.
Um, and certain individuals in that class of players were behind the scenes to Daniel's face, so to speak, not actually to his face, but in DMs and private messaging, were also questioning certain times during streams or certain move contemplation. Like there's this famous bishop c8 moment. Like, how did you
Right.
even come up with this move bishop c8, right? And so it's stemming from an esteemed world champion trickling down into other current top players and peers whose opinions he valued and whose respect he desired, was the most hurtful for him. Reddit comments and random people on the internet, of course that hurts, but not as much. It only hurts to the degree that anybody believes these allegations, right? Like that pained
Yeah.
him. But the most pain was inflicted from people who he admired and whose opinion and respect he wanted to be favorable, uh, were questioning him for, quite frankly, no legitimate reason. And um, that was extremely painful for him. And when we talked on stream, to get back to our conversation, when we talked off stream, when the stream ended, one of the things I tried to convey to Daniel as we were talking around this exact topic was that already, even at 29 years old, and in what he had done for the game of chess as a teacher, as a commentator, as a streamer, even as a player, right? We cannot forget that he was a great player as well, 2600 rated FIDE player. Um, his influence to the chess world is far greater and would have been much far greater than even the world champions, because it extends beyond just the chess crowd. And for some of these, let's say, players who were not one of, let's say, 18 world champions that are top players currently, they will be forgotten with time, just like top players of the past who don't go really down in history for any reason are forgotten with time. So I told Daniel, I said, your contribution to the chess world is and will continue to be much greater than these select group of truthers who you seek to appease will ever accomplish in their chess life at the way it is right now. And in tears, he asked me. I almost took offense to it. He asked me if I actually believe that, what I was saying. But he was in tears. Do you
Hmm.
actually believe that? And I said, you're damn skippy. I believe that, because why else would I be saying that?
Yeah.
I actually believe that. I'm saying it here on the record that I actually believe that. And anybody with a brain can understand that's true, just
Yeah.
statistically and factually true. And his legacy meant so much to him, what people perceived him to be, and him being robbed of this piece of his integrity, even though he understood that it was a fringe minority group of people who actually believed it. That amount of emotional pain was so much greater than the joy brought by the hundreds of thousands and millions of fans who complimented him. And quite frankly, the friend group who we loved and we cherished him and always supported him and backed him. And 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 so, in fact, the same night, he asked me if I could understand the emotional pain that he feels because it was so great. And I told him that I I could understand it, but I couldn't personally feel it. And I
Hmm.
wanted to, I wanted to comfort him in that way because I truly can understand and I could understand why it pained him so much and why it wasn't easy for him to just let it go. Other people might think, just let it go. People say things all the time and they don't have to be true. Just let it go. Well, it's quite frankly, Ben, it's not the same
Yeah.
because it's one thing for some random person at the grocery store that you run into to say that, but it's another thing when individuals with clout and notoriety in the chess world that have the potential to influence perception say that, right? So it's not the same as just saying, I can brush that off, let it go.
Yeah.
And that's just the unfortunate reality and a discussion that needs to be had within the chess world at large, um, particularly with those ambassadors of the game who contribute either as commentators, streamers, players that have a big following. In my view, they have a responsibility to be stewards of the game and not do what this select group of individuals did. Um, and of course, Daniel made his own personal choices as well, right? But there's something to be said, like as we know, there's a FIDE investigation on one individual. Um, FIDE could serve the future well by acknowledging that when you reach a certain level of status within the chess community, that words actually matter. And it's not just physical things that matter, like running to the bathroom during a chess tournament on your phone and
Mm.
using a chess computer. Um, that you have an obligation as a professional within the game of chess to conduct yourself with a certain standard. And I think that that's a bigger discussion to be had around this. But yes, I can say that having his integrity stolen from him was just a brutal um, thing for him to manage. It was just not not easy, not easy. Even though he had an immensely supportive peer group, both locally here on the ground and not on the ground. He had great friends who supported him, um, as well along the way. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, and even the fans, like if you read the comments to his last edited YouTube video that he posted on his channel before he passed, there were so many heartfelt comments just saying like, "We love you, you've changed my life," and you could see that he had hearted these comments. I mean, so but as you alluded to regarding Hikaru, who has a special personality where he can just sort of let this stuff roll off his back, not everyone is wired that way, and yeah, and they shouldn't have to be. Uh, they shouldn't have to endure baseless speculation to any degree, but especially not to the degree that Daniel did. So, Peter, as we start to wrap up, you mentioned before we started recording that you actually had conversations with Daniel about his legacy, also before he passed, which you probably were thinking this was going to be 40, 50 years down the line, but instead you've had to put things in motion quicker. What can you share about those conversations?
yeah. So, when we talked about legacy, he really valued what the chess community thought of him, and as I mentioned, he sought, uh, let's say, approval from a group of people that that he couldn't win over, but he really cared about his legacy and his contributions to the chess world, and of course he had his preferences on the things that he enjoyed about chess. So as the community is aware, he absolutely loved fast chess, right? The
Yeah.
faster, the better. 30-second chess, 1 minute chess, 3 minute chess. He loved fast chess. It was something that stimulated him, and something, quite frankly, that he was very good at. And here on the ground, in fact, back in 2021, we started a program here in Charlotte called the Elite Chess Team, which was something that we did together, where we give subsidized training to those students who reach the 1500 rating level, and which is kind of like the opposite of what usually happens. What usually happens is, as you grow higher in something, it becomes more expensive because you need more personalized coaching, you need higher level instruction, higher level opportunities. What we wanted to do is the opposite. We wanted to reward pupils or students for you know for their efforts, and reward their parents for getting to a certain level. And we started the Elite Chess Team together back in 2020 when we were teaching it together. Over the years, other grandmasters moved to Charlotte and also started assisting with it, and now we have over 80 kids in the elite team, so kids that are 1500 plus. And that was just something that he was passionate about here on the ground. We didn't have the capacity to impact the nation and subsidize training for everyone in the nation, but we were able to do that on the ground. So he was very passionate about those students who wanted to be uh, higher level chess players, who wanted to devote their life to the game of chess and to being as good as they could be and high achieving as they could be in chess. So the the initiatives that we drafted and came up with for his memorial fund were around the things that, if he was here, he would want to be seen done. And
Mhm.
that would be, obviously he was always saying, Peter, come on, man, you got to sponsor a big blitz tournament. I want to play more over the board blitz, right? You got to do that, right? There needs to be more. There aren't enough of those. And I said, yeah, but we don't have we don't have the capacity to do that. But I know it would be awesome, right? To have that. So we always talked around that. And, we spent a long time talking about those students who devote their time to the game of chess and who want to pursue titles and who want to pursue greatness in chess. And of course, he himself was a recipient of the already existing Samford Fellowship when he was pursuing the Grandmaster title as a teenager. So, so we wanted to put something together that represented his values, of course, with the approval of the family. We would never, ever, ever touch this without the approval of the family. And we made a commitment as a chess center to also commit to this, and sponsor it, and make sure that that it has the potential to to be something that lasts indeed beyond a year or two or three or four, something that 10 years from now, as the generations change and as the players now who may have known Danya, many of them would happily play a memorial event, for example, with no appearance fee. But that may not be the case 5 years from now. That may not be the case 10 years from now. And we want to see that his name lives on, at least for the length of one's original average natural life, which would be at least another 40 years,
Yeah.
for him, or maybe 30, at least 35 years. He had healthy 35 years minimum left, and so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to turn away from the negativity around his death and maybe some of the contributing factors there, and try to create something positive for the generations to come. The sad reality is that I cannot bring my friend back. I cannot
Yeah.
bring this all-star back to the chess community. And I would trade it all. I would trade every contribution we made, every effort we made. I would trade it all back for him to be back with us. That is not a possibility. And that's a reality that we as a chess community and as individuals have to acknowledge. And so, out of respect for my friend, and out of respect for his family, this is my mission. for him, and this is my mission for them. And if it has a positive impact on the chess community as a whole, which is which it is designed to do in the spirit of his life, then that's great,
Yeah.
and I hope that we can achieve that with the chess community's support.
It's a wonderful initiative. I when I saw what you guys had chosen, they just seem perfect. So really commend you. And I saw a question on Reddit. You guys are not taking any money from this, to be clear. You seeded it, in part, and not making a cent.
That's correct. And in fact, there are laws which prohibit for-profit companies that have nonprofit legs to directly benefit in any way. And those executive leaders, which of course I am of the Charlotte, to benefit in any way from their nonprofit subsidiary or leg of the company. And nonprofits of this size are also required to have transparent and detailed accounts every year. So people will have transparency of accounts, what the money's being spent on, how the money's being invested, and it will all be transparent. And of course, anybody who knows me as a person will realize that I have such a samurai mentality when it comes to honor and standing up for my people and standing up for my own integrity. So you don't have to take my word for it. This information will be publicly available. And of course, we are happy to have esteemed members of the chess community as well as uh, Alan Naroditsky, the brother and the representative of the family, sitting on the board, who will have access to full transparency of this initiative. But yes, rest assured that this is not in any way designed to be profit making for us. It is designed to be a sustainable fund that can support the chess community, quite frankly, year over year, in the name of our lost star. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest motivation here. And of course, with my efforts at the Charlotte Chess Center day to day, we aren't active fundraisers, right? So we're not. This is not what we do. And having the chess community's support here to endow this so that it lives on forever is something that I'm pleading for.
Yeah.
Because if we want this to last beyond a 5-year term or a 10-year term, and we want this to continue for generations to come, then I would love the community's support in helping make that a reality. And obviously, people can reach out to me with any questions if they have questions about what's being done, how it's being done. We're going to be an open book on that. This is the community's project. I'm just so happened to be leading it, right, and driving it because somebody had to do that. And I was the most natural person. But this is going to be for the community. This is the community's project. We want everybody to be involved. Anyone who'd like to be involved and contribute toward this. So that's you know that's that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. And the goal is $4 million, which is an audacious goal, a worthy goal. As you explain on the webpage, this would make it an endowment where you only draw down basically the generated interest in order to keep it sustainable over a long period of time. And of course, Daniel had 500 plus thousand YouTube subs, 300,000 plus Twitch subs. So for anyone listening who is impacted by Daniel, my perspective is that it's really not about one or two rich people kind of sweeping the whole thing. It's about, if Daniel impacted you and you can support in any way, if everyone who does that throws in a beer or a coffee or whatever they want, we can get there. It can be done for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ben. And that is our view as well, is that we want this to be the community's we want this to be the community's project. And we want even those who can only contribute a cup of coffee, a $5 donation, then we want them to proudly be listed on the donor wall. We want them to say, I was an original founder of this enduring project that's going to last a lifetime. If we reach our goal, it will last a lifetime.
Mhm.
But you know, an endowment is such, as you mentioned, that we draw from, we draw from interest basically on the endowment fund. And we're estimating that a safe amount is something between 4 and 5% a year, not what you might hear, let's say, about investment accounts averaging over 10% in the long run, because those are risky, volatile investments that would not be appropriate for something like this. So having that principle would, essentially giving us some place between $160,000 and $200,000 a year to place toward these initiatives could have a massive impact on the national and, quite frankly, international chess community by having this amazing memorial event every year, hoping to bring in the world's best players to participate, and also a fellowship for those aspiring junior players who want to pursue chess in a in a higher capacity. So it's going to be a community effort. As you mentioned, right now we're sitting at around $600,000 raised, a lot of that from a select group of donors, and then we have about 1,300 or so individual donors. But you're right in that we can get there with the community support. And I hope people see this as a project that is for the community. This is not something to line the pockets, which is actually prohibited by law and to do. And this is something so that his legacy truly lives on for generations. As chess players, we have to be able to see ahead 5 years, 10 years, not just what's right in front of us right now. And so for us, this is very much a long-term pledge and project and commitment to something that will endure for decades.
Well, I appreciate it. Hope to be able to attend, and Peter, just want to thank you. It's very, very admirable for you to come on and discuss this so openly. I know it's been an incredibly difficult time for you and your family, your chess family down there.
Well, I appreciate it, Ben, and I'd like to leave you with a funny story that I remember, which I validated yesterday by reaching out to some contacts and looking through my bank statement. So
Okay.
I'd like to share a funny story, and maybe it can even this is the first time I'm sharing it openly, so maybe it will be maybe it will be known as the meatball match or something like that. So I'm gonna share this with you. So in 2023, we went to National Grade Level Championships, which is a U.S. chess national event that happens every December. And in this particular year, it was in Orlando, Florida. And I went with Danya and Alex Velasquez, who's one of our, kind of key members of our coaching staff. And we headed down to Orlando for nationals. And in fact, if you go to the fundraiser page, you'll see a photo of a group photo of all of us with our Charlotte Chess Center hats on, and that was from that exact event that I'm talking about. So anyway, there was a wonderful restaurant in the Hyatt Regency Hotel that this event was taking place at, and we always do nice dinners at the end of the day after we're finished analyzing with the children and after we have a long day. So on Sunday, after the event was over, I said, guys, let's go to the, like, whatever, 5-star restaurant that's in the hotel. Like, super, super, super nice, beautiful, wonderful restaurant. And it was great, Ben. Like, the atmosphere, the food was great. But okay, let's get to the good part. So it's I'm there, Alex Velasquez is there, and of course Daniel Naroditsky is with us. And we sit down at a table, white tablecloths, wine glasses already ready to go. And we must have ordered our drinks and maybe a couple appetizers. Definitely meatballs, because I remember how great those were, and we all remember that. And what does Daniel do? He pulls out his cell phone, because he had a full day of chess, except not chess for himself, but rather teaching other kids how to play chess better. And he pulls out his phone, logs on to chess.com on the app, and wants to get a couple of games in at the table. And this was pretty normal. And we always loved watching Daniel play because it was such a high level. So this was pretty normal. And he starts freaking out. He's like, this was, by the way, in 2023. So this was before the accusations or whatever you want to call it. The integrity was questioned. Who does he get paired against? Vladimir Kramnik in a 3+2 game, right at the table on his app. Okay. So he's ecstatic about it. We're watching this play out right at this dinner table while this whole world is spinning around us, right? He's playing a couple games on his app against former world champion Kramnik. And I just completely, basically, it was just another day in the neighborhood for us, and I had forgotten it. So as I was recollecting my experiences with Daniel and everything, I needed to validate my memory. So I went to the chess.com database. I found the exact date, timestamps, and everything of the national tournament in 2023. I found my $500 restaurant bill from that restaurant, and I found the 4 games that they played at the dinner table while he was playing on his app. Danya finished +1. It was 2 wins for him, one loss, and a draw, and it just spoke to his pure passion for how he would drop everything for an opportunity to play, an elite player and to play somebody, even if it was for 30 minutes before the with a meatball in one hand before the the main course came. So I wanted to share that kind of light story there about just his pure passion for the game. And I just found it also just hilarious that he just pulls out his phone at the dinner table in like a bustling restaurant with food coming after a long day of work, and he just can't wants to get those games in right there at the table. So figure I share that if kind of just a cute little moment that I remembered and was able to validate.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely shows the passion that went above and beyond. And John Bartholomew also has alluded to a legendary story of him winning Title Tuesday on a plane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or at least almost. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Peter, again, this has been fantastic. Listeners, I mean, you just if you're able to support this endeavor at all, obviously, you should do that. Like Peter said, the unfortunate truth is we'll never get Daniel back, but this would be a worthy way to preserve his legacy and maintain it. Thank you again, Peter.
I appreciate it, Ben. Thank you.
Okay, take care.